Welcome back to Not So Grand Garage. So today I'm out of the shop and I've got to handle a situation with one of our chickens. And this is probably one of the bad sides to taking care of birds, is when they have a problem, you got to take care of it. So we've got one that has recurrent bumblefoot, and I've taken care of it before on them, and this one has come back. So we're gonna have to dig into it a little bit deeper. With that said, I've got them all pretty well rounding up around me because they know I got treats. Yeah, look at them. So yeah, this is gonna be a little graphic, but it's meant to be educational. So if you're a little squeamish, you don't like the sight of blood, things like that, I'd probably turn this off. But anyways, we'll get these guys rounded up. As you can see, got our roux over there, and all these ones are hanging out. But I'll bring you back once I get him in, or get her inside, and get ready to get this done. So I've already got the work surface sterilized. Here's some of the stuff we'll be using. We've got this vet wrap. You can get this Tractor Supply, any places like that. It comes in 3-inch widths, I think. It's either 3 or 4 inches. Typically, you will cut this in 1-inch wide strips. Makes it a lot easier to work with. You need sterile gauze, triple antibiotic cream without pain reliever in it. So just the standard triple antibiotic is fine. I'm going to use 91% isopropyl alcohol for cleaning its foot prior to doing anything. And we got this here to irrigate the wound with water. And gloves. Gloves are important. Be sure to wear them. This infection that's in the chicken's foot can be transferred to humans. So yeah, don't mess around. Wear gloves. Be sure to do this safely. Along with all that, you'll either need a scalpel, an X-Acto knife, or I suggest new razor blade. You will want to sterilize this blade before you do anything. And yeah, another pair of scissors to cut the gauze into the right size padding, and to cut your strips out of your vet wrap. That's pretty well all you'll need. So let's see if we can get the bird in here and get started. So we've got our girl in here, and let's show you what we got going on. The best way I've found to do this, to keep them safe from flapping around and hurting themselves, gently wrap them up in a towel, wrap their wings up so they don't move around too much, just to keep their feet out. But here is what we've got going on. The bottom, you can see there's a little black mark right at the tip of my finger there. That is where she had been poked. But if you can see on the other end, looks almost like a marble on top. And that is where the infection is. So we're going to have to open that up and get rid of that infection, get that all out of there, and get some antibiotic cream in it, get it wrapped up. So, like I said, this is going to be a little graphic. So if you don't like, or if you can't stand the sight of blood and stuff, turn away. But this will be the first time I've done a top side. Usually the bumblefoot starts on the bottom, where there'll be a scab or a black dot, kind of like that, except bigger. And whenever you have to do it from the bottom side, you just cut the scab area out, and typically a large plug, or kernel as they call it, will come out from the bottom. Well, this one is deeper inside, and it's worked its way up through here. So we're going to open it up and get the kernel out from the top, and get the antibiotic on it and get it wrapped up. And hopefully here in a week, after changing the bandages, keeping up on it, 2 weeks or so, that'll heal up real nice. So let's get at it. Another important note, you'll notice I've got her right side up. Don't lay them on their backs. It can actually suffocate them, especially with the bigger breeds. So yeah, do your best to keep them upright, or you can lay them towards their side a little bit if it makes it easier to work on. But yeah, just try and keep them as comfortable and as upright as you can. So let's get her foot cleaned up and get to work. First up, we need to wash this foot. So, of course, gloves, use them. So, just hand soap, nothing fancy. We're gonna soap this up real well. I can feel the heat in the backside of this bulb, so this definitely is infected, needs to come out, because this infection can spread and it can lead to permanent damage, or it can end up killing the birds. So we don't want that to happen. We got to take care of them. And this won't feel that great, more than likely. And it is what it is. Cool water. Just wash as much of the mud and dirt and stuff like that off where we're going to be working. Dry this off carefully. I'm also going to take this other foot and tuck it up in the towel so she doesn't get excited. Just gonna rotate her ever so slightly. Calm down. So now we can kind of see what's going on. Make sure you all can see what I'm doing. So we can kind of see what we've got. So now I'm going to clean this area as well with rubbing alcohol before doing anything. You will not get their feet spotless. So just disinfecting and doing the best you can to keep everything clean is the goal. Now this is where we get a little graphic. I'll take new razor blade and cut right along the top. There will be some bleeding, that is normal. And we're going to push out. I can feel a pretty good lump in there. So I'm going to get a container and soak her foot for a bit, see if we can soften this up. Right now we are soaking her foot in this container. This container was cleaned out, got clean water in it. Nothing else in it. We're just going to use water. Gonna let it soak for 10-15 minutes, see if it softens up enough to work out the kernel, and go from there. I had to do a little bit more work off camera, but took a lot of effort to get this out, but just kept working and working until we removed that plug from her foot. I'll hold it up here in just a second, but as you can tell, she's just fine. But I'm gonna work on this a little bit more. I'm gonna rinse it out really well and continue to push on it. We're gonna make sure we got everything out. Make sure we've got a little bit of blood flow, because that's a good sign. You want a little bit, but we want to get all the infection squeezed out of this. And make sure we get it cleaned out right this time. So I'm gonna work on this for just a minute and see what we can find. So I got that plug out. I can still see a small white spot down inside, and I'm pretty sure it's from this bottom where this started. So I'm going to try and get this out from the bottom, and then we're going to pack this really well with antibiotic cream after flushing it out really good. As you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of blood flow, which is good. It's a good sign. But yeah, she's doing good. She's calm, and we're just going to take our time and make sure to get everything that we can. But as you can see, this is just pretty well hollow now. So yeah, we're going to work on this little spot down here, see if we can get it cleaned out, and then bring it back and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so patience is the key here. I'm going to open this up a little bit. I cannot see any more infection, any more white tissue or clusters down in this wound, so I'm going to rinse it out really good with clean water, cool, clean water. Try to not get their feathers soaked because they stay wet. Now we're going to dry the foot off, pack this wound, and get it wrapped up. We've got our infection all out of there. So as you can tell, this is just a pretty open pocket now. So we're going to fill that entire cavity with triple antibiotic cream. Again, no pain reliever in this because it can kill them. Just a standard, cheap triple antibiotic cream. Now I keep a tube of this and all this other stuff in a separate kit away from our medical stuff here at the house. That way I know I won't accidentally be putting something that's been with the chickens on the kids or ourselves. So keep it separate. But we're gonna put a big glob right here, and I'm gonna work this down in there. Pretty well pack that cavity where the infection was with antibiotic cream. Now we're going to wrap this foot up. So I take my pre-prepared gauze, a nice thick pad of it, place it over the wound like so. And now we're going to wrap this up. I'm also going to dry the bottom of her foot off as best I can. I want to try to keep the wound dry while it heals. Got our strip. I'm going to start on the top, go around. You don't want this really tight because it can cut off circulation. Take your time and securely go over between the toes. Make sure to separate their toes so they can still move freely. And we want to completely cover the gauze to the best of our ability here. And I've got a little corner shown there. That's okay. I am going to take that second piece and just use a little bit of it to secure this tail a little bit better because it landed in a bad spot. I don't like the ends of the wrap to be on the bottom of their feet because it works loose pretty easy if it's down there. So I'm gonna start this on the top side of the foot. Come around, like I said, gentle, doesn't have to be super tight or anything. we're just gonna loosely wrap it up a little bit. Make sure nothing's constrained. This one might be a little bit, we'll work that down a little. And I'm gonna trim this excess off. Just like so. Do have a little bit of the white exposed, but that's not a big deal. I'll be changing this wrap out every 2 days. So, but give you a look here of the finished product. Got it wrapped up. Nice. Everything is secured. So, I'm going to clean up the mess in here and get everything ready and get her ready to go back outside. But as you can tell, she's comfy. She's not caused too much, not caused too many problems. But here is what we removed. As you can see, that is my pointer finger, the size of this clump of infected material that's been in her foot. And it does not take long for it to grow that size. And you may not even notice, this bird wasn't hobbling around, wasn't limping or anything like that. She was running around with the rest of them. But we just happened to notice while she was on her roost in the coop at night. I noticed the other day, it's been a couple days, that she had a marble-sized lump on her foot. Now, this one I had tried to take care of from the bottom a couple weeks ago, but there was just a slight pinhole, and it didn't look bad. There was no scab, no nothing, so I just wrapped it up for a few days and assumed it was good because there was no swelling. So I just cleaned out the little hole on the bottom of her foot and thought we were good to go. But as you can tell, we were not. So yeah, while doing this, take your time. Now, that's what's important. You want to get all of that infected nastiness out of the wound. Also, I would suggest, typically when I do this on the bottom sides, which I should have done at this time, I just didn't think about it. I like to soak their feet in like an Epsom salt and warm water mix for 15-20 minutes prior to doing anything. Then wash them off really well. That softens the skin up and makes it a lot easier to work with. I should have done that from the start on her, but it just slipped my mind. But with that said, I'm going to get cleaned up and get her back outside. So that pretty well wraps it up. You can see she seems fine. We will we'll keep a close eye on her for the next week, 2 weeks, as she heals up. Like I said, I don't separate them out after this. I haven't had any issues with them picking on the bandages and stuff like that. They tend to be okay with it. If you have trouble with them picking at the bandages, actually, I'm gonna go on and let her down. So, as you can see, she can walk fine with her foot bandaged up. She's not gonna like it at first, but they tend to get used to it. But moves around just fine. Isn't in pain or anything like that. But yeah, if you have issues with with them picking at their bandages and stuff, the first time I did that, I did not cut the strips narrow enough, and they didn't like how the material kind of stuck to their feet. So if you cut the strips fairly narrow, 3/4 of an inch to an inch, it will help with that. Their feet can move a little freer, and they do a lot less picking at the bandages. I also prefer to use dark colors on the bandages. It just doesn't stand out as much, so the other chicks and chickens won't pick at it typically if it doesn't stand out. If it's different, they're gonna pick at it. But yeah, like I said, we'll give it 2 days. I like to keep it wrapped up. It's not supposed to rain here at all for the next week, so I don't have to worry about it getting too wet. or anything like that. There's no standing water or anything out here, so we'll keep an eye on that, make sure it stays dry and clean. And we will change the bandage and repack the wound every 2 to 3 days. I like to keep it wrapped up for 2 days at least before unwrapping it and repacking the wound. Gives it time to start healing a little bit. But yeah, I think she's gonna be just fine. As you can see, she's all the other girls are trying to get at her, but she's just fine walking around. Obviously the wrap is going to annoy her. She's going to pick at it a little bit, but as long as it doesn't start coming undone or anything like that, it's not a big deal, as long as she doesn't start picking at her leg or anything. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Like I said, a little graphic, but it is what it is. It's part of owning birds or any other kind of livestock, any kind of production animal that you're going to have. You're going to have issues come up, especially with chickens at free range. We let ours out all the time pretty well. They get in the woods, they get their feet torn up. This kind of thing can happen. It's going to happen. So be prepared for it, and be ready to take care of it when it comes up. If you can't do it yourself, which I always suggest trying, even if you're a little squeamish, it is what it is. I suggest trying it, but if you can't, then make sure you've got a vet in your area that will work on chickens, because a lot of them won't. Another side note, something to just keep an eye on the other birds, especially when you've done something like wrap one of their feet or something like that. Make sure none of the other ones start pecking at it or anything like that, causing issues. They can do that from time to time, so just keep an eye on them for the first half hour or so. If they're not being bothered, then you should be good to go. So just another thing to keep track of. Something else, time. This is a time-consuming process to do it right, so anticipate 45 minutes-ish, maybe longer, especially if you soak their feet. So yeah, plan to dedicate a little bit of time to it, because if you don't, if you rush or anything like that, you may end up hurting the chicken or end up not getting all the infection out and have to redo it later. So take your time, do it right the first time. Yeah, so with all that said, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you got any comments, questions, complaints, I'm sure there's going to be people in the comment section saying, well, I did this wrong or I did that wrong. That's okay. I don't mind. And hey, I'll take advice. I don't know how to do everything right, so we learn by doing around here. So I did do quite a bit of research before attempting this. But anyways, as I was saying, if you got any comments, complaints, questions, drop them in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel, we've got a PayPal account set up. You can use that. The link to that is in the video description. Our merch, our black diesel stuff, you know the drill. It's all on the website, www.notsograndgarage.com. If you would, hit that thumbs up button. Helps us out quite a bit and doesn't cost you anything. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.
Why is that brown one out?
Because I fixed her foot, girlie.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully she'll heal up.
Some of the chicks that let me and Joshua pet them.
Oh.
And I've never petted a chick before.
You're silly.